Coach, what was the most important thing your team did during the bye week, and what sort of reflections did you have over the way that first three games ended, with the second half, especially offensively against NC State?
Well, it definitely is a bad taste in your mouth. I've reminded them about that really every day since that moment, right? So I think our guys have carried that with them, but it's behind us now, right? So I think the biggest thing is we've had hard practices. You talk to our guys, they would say this hasn't been just some soft 16 days. We had another one today. It was shorter, but it was intense. So we'll dial it back as we get to game day starting tomorrow, but I think our guys have really come to work. Our physicality has to show. Our technique needs to get better. I think that's a myriad of things that we've talked about the last couple weeks. Starts up front on both sides of the ball. But Georgia Tech will really test our communication and everything we do, from offensive line play to the secondary. So, we've really focused, to be honest with you, Les, about doing our job. Let's not try to be Supermen out there. We've won big games in the past. We'll do it again. We beat ranked teams. We got to go out there and be ourselves, and I think that's been the focus of the last couple of days.
When you look at the trajectory of activity over the last few days, is it sort of like one of those S curves where it's like it starts off a little slow as you recover, then amps up, and then dies off again?
That's exactly what it's been. Last week, the older guys did about half of the practice, and we did a bunch of young guys stuff to build some depth, and then yesterday you'd see a big spike, right? And then we're going to come down as we go throughout the week preparing, but it's about getting back in a flow. We've done a lot of good on good, move the ball, red zone, sudden change, getting our guys back in game flows and getting them off some of these scripts, because, I think that's been the hardest challenge about the Thursday into a bye week situation.
As you looked at as you reviewed the tape, I don't know, probably numerous times, where were the breakdowns?
Yeah,
was it like who you
I
were
watched
doing
it again.
things
I watched
with?
it again yesterday, just to clarify it again in my mind. And you start out the first series and you go MA, holding, punt. And it's like, okay, these are things that we can control,
Execution.
So yeah, but bottom line is, why are they happening? Right? We can say, hey man, this guy's got to execute here, or, Lowe's didn't block the right guy on a screenplay. Well, okay, as a coach, right, he's not trying to go out there and mess it up. So why are these things happening? Why are their roles not clear? And it just emphasized again, pare down the game plan, play fast. Right? It was just another thing, we've been talking about it all week. But once again, when I watched it again, I was like, yep, we're on the right track. Let's pare it down. Let's these guys fly around.
What's made you the most happy about what your team's done this first segment of the season?
Stayed the course. Like I said, you go back to game one, wasn't pretty, but we got it done. Second game, extreme challenges and situations. Okay, third game, come out, really fast starts, don't finish, learn. Everything is just learn, and if we think we've arrived, we're going to flatline. If we come with a mature approach to get better, our team's going to continue to grow throughout the year, and I think that is the challenge of this team. And every week we need to see elevation really at every position. And even though guys are, coming in and out of the lineup, some 2s and 3 guys that are going to get opportunities, got to be ready to show what they're capable of doing.
Talk about that, and Braylon, all accounts said he did a good job last Thursday. But he's not going to play every snap. So has anybody kind of emerged that will be a good backup for him?
Well, a couple things. You can't just replace Rue. He's a great player, great teammate. Braylon has done a tremendous job. And we knew we had another starter in the back end with Braylon. Now he's in there. The guy that's been elevated would be Miles Turpin. And I think he's been an interesting journey with us. I think he had a rough first 4 months, kind of figuring it out and what we needed and demanded from him. And he's had a hell of a fall camp into the season. So he's playing strong and free. He'd be kind of the next rotational piece to go there. Nick Anderson is the ultimate jackknife, so if we need him in a pinch, he could go back and play free safety, move on over, elevate Z. So there's a lot of different combinations of people we're working with, because Georgia Tech makes you communicate snap 1 to snap 80. I mean, the unbalanced sets, the motions are intense, so those guys got to have a real rapport, and I think that's one of the toughest parts about losing Rue.
One of the really fun things about seeing spring and fall camp and talking with you about it was how well the secondary played, especially in when you consider the fact that we all have been told and seen that that's been a problem spot for the Deeks. Now that you've had your first kind of loss, how you still feeling about that group as a whole?
right now, as a whole, as a defense, and I would lean this into a secondary, is that, you know, we're top 10 in the country as least explosive plays given up,
Okay.
right? So, and that's 20 plus plays. So, done a good job of keeping things in front of us. We haven't had the playmaking that I think we're capable of doing quite yet. And I think that showed up a little bit against NC State, especially on third down.
Yeah.
They took advantage of some situations. That's the one zone where I want those guys to elevate and, more importantly, trust and challenge themselves. Right? We identified a couple situations like there's a third and, don't quote me on this, 10 plus, you know, a shot was in man. It's like, go get them. Trust yourself. We trust you. We're putting you out there for a reason. Go play aggressive. I would rather have guys get beat playing aggressive. That's just kind of our style, our nature. So I think there's some little things we've identified to let those guys go out there and go play ball.
Two little housekeeping things, and I'll let you get back to your team.
Yeah.
How is Ashad and Uber? Can you give us any update on how they're progressing in terms of their dings? And
Yeah, Uber is going to be out for the season. He had to have surgery on his knee. And Ashad, you know, we're kind of working through this foot thing, which has been an issue, so he's more doubtful this week.
Okay. And then I guess the last thing is we spoke to Devin Kalani yesterday, and I've really been entertained by both of his interviews with us in the fall. What made him kind of the perfect fit to kind of follow you here? And it seems like it's a culture and personality fit, not just a football fit, but the football's good too.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say just followed me. I think he followed us. You know, I think that's really important. Is me, as Coach Ben in the weight room, as Coach Castor. It's the trust that we've built up over the course of, you know, really the last 3 years together. But it's easy to identify sometimes people in our current world in football that love it. He loves it, and he's so true and authentic to himself. That's what you're experiencing here in those interviews. That is Devin Kalani. That's not some actor show. He's just a tremendous human being. He's a great leader. I've really been proud to see him transition into a new place, new culture, be voted team captain. I think that says a lot about like what he does in that locker room and the things that I don't see. He just gains a lot of respect for him. But he wants to be a coach. He's going to be a tremendous coach because he can relate to people in an elite fashion, you know, in ways that I wish I'm still growing towards. So just excited about his future, his journey. And, you know, all these guys that came here, just their trust in us has been very, you know, meaningful to me.
Cool, thank you. That was really good.
Yeah, I appreciate
You
you.
had to